put record on, check we're recording, and then we're able to say to everybody, hello, everybody. Welcome to the iSigma Live podcast. I have the absolute pleasure to be joined by with Jenny Heyns, who's here from CSR. Did I get that acronym right?
Yes.
And CSR stands for?
A lot of people ask that question. So CSR actually came from a company called CSRSI, and that was an acronym for something like cost savings and reduction. That was back in the day when we actually were a PCI compliance shop. So we were looking at doing PCI compliance. About 12 years ago, we kind of splintered off and decided that PCI, although still important, was only a small segment of data privacy. So at that point, we decided to branch out and really look at what we could offer as something under the data privacy umbrella versus just PCI. So we stuck with the CSR.
Yeah.
Really doesn't mean probably much other than what our parent company or our past company used to be. But yeah, so that's where, and then privacy solutions kind of got added to the end of it. That's exactly right.
But I love those stories. They're always great how company names come about, aren't they? And how about yourself? How did you get into this industry?
So I've actually been in technology for 30 years, and I've had a focus in software development actually all that time. Over the time, I actually, I own my own software company. So I was consulting at a higher level, more strategic, but still providing custom application development. I happened to meet Ross Fettergreen, who's the owner of CSR, probably over 20 years ago. And so when I met him, we just understood each other. Maybe not always agreed, but we understood each other and respected each other. So when it was time for him to actually create a new company, he reached out to me and said, hey, I want you to run my IT area. And I thought at the time, like, why not, right?
Yeah.
I felt like cybersecurity and privacy was kind of the movement. And so I was able to join on with CSR, and I've been there for almost 12 years now.
Wow. And your role now, I looked on, did the little LinkedIn check, like what we were supposed to do, and it said responsibility for the vision and strategy, and then there's a long list which we're going to talk through. But that's really interesting because again, with how technology is changing so much today, I think really important to have a vision and then have a strategy to execute against those vision. How do you think about those?
So, I really look at the development of our product called URisk. It has gone through an evolution, to be quite frank. And I've always kind of been in the back end. Like I was, as an IT professional, I was in charge of building the solution, not necessarily the direction of the solution.
Yeah.
I was really happy that about 6-7 years ago, that shifted a bit, so that I could take on that direction of the product offering. And so, unlike most technologists, I really focused on how can this product be beneficial to the end user, and not just say, oh, this is how everything is, we need to do it this way, but really look at the end user and how it can be as easy as possible.
You sound like a product manager.
Well, you know what? It's funny because my career path, I was a developer. Yeah. I found out very quickly I just didn't want to be punching keys. Yeah. So I moved into like a systems analysis and architecture. And back in the day, that was very technical. But so is project management. Yeah. It's not as technical now, but it was back then. So in order to become a project manager, you had to have like the architecture experience. So I moved into that. So I really did embrace, and I loved the fact I could play a part in the direction of a product, right? Yeah. And so that really is, I mean, you kind of hit it right on top of the nail there. I do. I play a huge role of managing the direction of the product itself. And ultimately, my goal is to go and have that product fit the needs of our audience, of our users, which we are targeting small to medium-sized businesses. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that because I feel like the last few years we've really been able to do a good job at that.
Which is fantastic. So tell me a little bit about the product, URisk. What's the problem that it primarily addresses?
So I'll start out with who our end user target is, and that's a small to medium-sized business. When it comes to security and privacy, they do little to nothing. And that community, you're talking about 96 million small to medium-sized businesses.
Incredible, isn't it?
It's such a huge population that are underserved. So, you're talking about, Fortune 500s, large companies, they all have a compliance solution. They have an IT group. They are doing something, right? Maybe not the best, but they're doing something.
They're doing something, absolutely.
But the small to medium-sized business is doing nothing. And so URisk is designed to help those small to medium-sized businesses actually take that first step. So you can take a first step with URisk, but we have 6 modules in place that allows them to also, from step 1, get to step 2, step 3. We have 6 modules that help them target on how do I make sure I don't lose data. So whether it is employee training, which is the number one reason why accidental data loss occurs, or managing their vendors, because vendors are the second reason for data loss. So we have modules that really kind of help them navigate that and to create a comprehensive solution for them.
So is that similar? Obviously we see the certifications and so on. So by going through the modules, you're really making sure that you're hitting all the most important compliance points that would come up in one of these certifications. So,
Absolutely.
So it could kind of dovetail together.
I always go, people ask me all the time, oh, will this help me with my SOC? Is this NIST, do I get a NIST certification? I always preface this and I always say, listen, URisk, I believe in the product, and it really, my passion is what's really got it to where it's at. But I'm not going to lie to anybody and tell them that it's going to give them a certification. But what it does do is it allows them to take those steps so that pieces of those requirements for those certifications, it can actually be a reality for them. I often, people say, like, is URisk insurance? No, it's not insurance. But I have looked at cyber insurance, and I've looked at how that process has, with the application process, has really changed over the years. And so URisk, actually, when I was looking and researching it, parts of URisk helps people check the box on those applications. So maybe 2 years, it wasn't a reality for small to medium-sized businesses to achieve cyber insurance because they would have been denied. Now they can check a lot of those boxes as long as they're utilizing URisk and taking it to its full benefit.
I remember going way back now as well. When cyber insurance really was not really a thing, people were talking about and trying to get cyber insurance, and then you're dealing with an insurance company who they didn't understand it, and you spent more time trying to explain it. It was terrible. To have an opportunity to have something where I could go through and meet all those needs and be able to just present that, I think that's huge value.
Well, I really do appreciate that. I mean, those are the kind of things that trigger my thought process, so that we can make the best solution for those SMBs. So, we are constantly changing the system, just like the cybersecurity and privacy ecosystem is changing. We also believe that you have to have a solution that's going to be able to be flexible and evolve with that, with that environment. So, my team, we are pushing new builds out every month.
Every month?
It is our cycle. We have new content that always goes out there. Regulation doesn't change as quickly. However, we have a lot of regulatory timelines and back-end requirements that we are constantly updating when the regulations change. So, or get added. We're really trying to take away the need for a business to say, I need to know all of these things. Our goal is use URisk and let us guide you through it so that you can be in a much better state than you are today.
Yeah, and I can very much see that using that starts to get the compliance mindset into the company at that point. So if they do want to go for more, certifications, they're time consuming, they're costly, they're difficult. So everything you can do to kind of lay the foundations before you dive into it is going to save you a lot of money.
Absolutely. And time. And ultimately also the risk, right? The anxiety of, will that person click on the link, right? With training, it hopefully helps and mitigates that risk. Yeah. And so that's the reason why, like, you know, people say, oh, we need to train our employees. But yet they either feel like it's not, they can't afford to do that, or they do it one time per year, right? Yeah. And then after 60 days, people have forgotten and their practices aren't as good. Yeah. So, you know, again, those are the things that we look at when we're building URisk. How can we really make an impact? And I will say personally, I mean, this may be a pipe dream, but, you know, I believe in whatever I'm going to spend so much of my time doing, right, which is my work, that it needs to hopefully have an impact. And so I look at the ecosystem of cyber crime, you know, privacy, data loss, you know, with the small to medium-sized business being a population that does nothing right now. They're the biggest target. So if I can go and get a portion of them to do something, which since that population is so large, that portion can, if you could just do a little bit, how much harder is it for that cyber criminal that's taking advantage, Absolutely. Right? So, you know, cyber criminals nowadays range from age 14 to 40, 50. Yeah. And so those that are inexperienced, that are taking advantage now, be much harder because the small to medium-sized business is doing something.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And again, it's still very often the simple things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Changing passwords, all of those wonderful stuff. Well, I read a little bit of something this morning. So we talked about you know, the product development, and then obviously there are data breaches now. And you mentioned the human element is one of the biggest problems for that. But now we're in the wonderful world of AI. So I read first thing this morning. I'm going to read it out. That today, the full source code for Anthropic Claude code leaked on the public NPM registry.
Wow.
Yeah. People reverse engineered it back to 1900 TypeScript files.
Wow.
So that's breaking today.
That's amazing. Scary, right?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What is that? What do you think when you hear something like that?
Oh, wow. Well, it's frightening, really. I mean, it's interesting because, you know, when you talk about security standards, let's just talk about like code, right? Yeah. A lot of companies are utilizing cloud solutions to keep their code. A lot of companies are not necessarily doing the best coding practices, but even scarier right now is there are a lot of companies that are using AI to develop their code. And that's something we refuse to do. It's not something that I believe we need to do. I have really great engineers. They embrace what our mission is. And so because of that, we don't go down that path. Right. However, you know, I know a lot of startups, right? They really need it. Like, you know, they're trying to get a product on in the market so that they can get more funding, they can get revenue. So I see a place for it, but ultimately you need to understand what you're getting and extracting from that AI. Unfortunately, you know, organizations like this might be leveraging it and don't necessarily understand the weaknesses or the vulnerabilities that it can cause. Yeah. I'm always a little paranoid, stuff like that. Yeah, and I don't know enough about what happened to be able to say this is the reason why. But, you know, even, you know, cloud repositories, we utilize it, but we also put extensive security controls in it to ensure that, you know, we have our code is secure, right?
My guess is no. I'm going to guess this is very, you know, so you know, this is all it is, but probably no human in the loop in the CI/CD pipeline.
Yes, exactly.
And so that just got published, but. I mean, the damage to brand, though. So now in there was all the like project names for future things that haven't been released yet. All of this stuff now is coming out, which now competitors can absolutely see. So they've just given away a big part of their roadmap. Yeah. I mean, the brand damage seems terrible to me.
Well, you know, it's funny because everyone always talks about like cost, you know, especially when it comes to either data loss or in this case, I mean, this is something fairly significant, right? Yeah. This is about the future of that company. and where they're going. But you're right. I mean, brand damage and the reputation and also the loss of their intellectual property is devastating, right? Because I would be honest, to be honest, like if somebody came to me and said, we reverse engineered URisk, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
I've been there from the very beginning. It has really been something that I put a lot of my time and passion into. It would be horrible, right? So I can only imagine how they feel. But I will say that that's the reason why you take those extra steps, because it's, you're not going to leave your child in a car seat out in the public, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing, you want to make sure that you protect those things, whether it is the code or your customer's data.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And it really shows why you have to really think about the entire process.
You do.
Before you implement the process.
Yeah.
Because this one's probably been rushed a little bit too much confidence in
That's
the
right.
AI and the damage that it's been done now. But from a data privacy standpoint, it would be even worse if it was customer data.
Absolutely, because when it comes to things that are involving customers, there are, the impact is very exponential, right? It's not just one organization, it's all the customers or at least the data set of customers. But, a lot of people don't understand that data breaches, when it involves customer information, your regulations are based off of where those customers reside. It doesn't matter if you're in the state of Florida. If you have customers all over the country or all over the world, there are so many applicable regulations that you have to abide by. And the last thing that anybody wants to do is be forced to have to do consumer notification, right?
Yeah.
And that is a part of it. And so to be able to have to admit that you had made a mistake to your customers who trusted you, that's really hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it happens,
Absolutely.
So how do you help somebody if it did happen? Are you there as well with URisk and all to then help them to manage through that situation?
Sure, yeah.
'Cause that's the worst bit. Now my hair's on fire.
Yes.
I'm like, I need somebody who can calmly walk me through this.
Well, so that's one of the modules that we have is called breach support. And so the first thing I always say, we do not replace your IT department or your managed service provider. Those resources and individuals are incredibly important when it comes to a data breach. They're the ones who are going to identify how it happened. They're going to tell you what was lost, and they're going to remediate it so it doesn't happen again. So again, as a technologist, they are incredibly important, and they are the first part of a data breach and how you respond. So I say response because really there's about incident response. I call them phase 1 and phase 2 of incident response. Phase 3 of incident response is reportability. And so what URisk does is we provide that reportability requirement. So most IT departments and even some legal departments don't understand all the regulations. But the value of URisk is that we have privacy experts in-house and we manage all of those requirements. So when a breach occurs, they can contact us and we actually walk them through that process. So they don't have to be worried. Do I have to look at this regulation? How do I do this? When do I need a report? We will provide them all that information, all the timelines, how and who to report to, and they then hold and they're empowered to do the final reporting.
And I think that's just huge because once you've had, I worked in a medical device, and if you have, the fear of a recall, we had reams of procedures ready should that happen so we could go quick and a lot of training to make sure we knew what to do. Smaller companies just don't have time for that. So having somebody like yourself and then with URisk to be able to guide them through that, again, you hope it never happens, but if it does, you want to have all the plans in place to manage it efficiently.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. One of the first breach reporting kind of notifications that I received, the individual, she said to me, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I just won the lottery," because she had no idea what to do. Mm-hmm. She did have a reportable breach, but she had no idea what to do. And she was like, do I contact an attorney? Do I do this? And when she called at the time, that was kind of the mode of intake, she was just so happy that she wasn't left alone, because it is during these times that providing expert guidance just brings the anxiety level down, right? It's not about what you have to do. Sometimes it's the fear of the unknown.
It is absolutely the fear of the unknown, isn't it? And somebody who's there who says, "We've seen this. We know what to do, and we can."
That's
walk
exactly
us through
right.
that." That's fantastic. So if I was a new startup, or I'm an established business, but I haven't really thought about this, what would be my first steps? So what would your advice to me to be my very first steps to get on this journey of compliance?
Sure. So I always believe that you should look at your human firewall. Okay, the people are the most.
I've never heard it called that. I like that.
The people are the most important part of your company, but unfortunately, they are also your biggest vulnerability. You can't run your business without your people. Your people make you the most efficient, but unfortunately, every person that you have is probably very busy. So it's so easy. And I'll be honest with you, I have even fallen for a deep fake. Okay. Now, luckily, and I'm an IT person, I've created deep fake videos before. I know what to see, how to find it and point them out. But when you're in the moment and you're acting on instinct, like just pure human instinct, you can get fooled, right?
Scammers know how to hit
They
the
know
right
how to
emotional
do it. Exactly.
triggers.
So educating is really important. So I always say the first thing is to educate. And actually, URisk is designed to do that. Okay. As soon as somebody registers, we immediately start educating them. Because as soon as they create their account, we're going to send their first video. We also try to drive our module called threat scanning. And the reason for that is we're trying to mimic what a cyber criminal is going to do, which is try to get to your data through your website, or try to get into your network through your firewall. So if we can do those two basic things, it's like that first step is one giant step. So I would always say we would encourage them to do that. The other thing, and not all businesses are ready for this, but I do have, like, the vendor management module that we have is, in my opinion, superior, not because of necessarily its functionality, but it's superior because of its ease of use. And so small to medium-sized business have no idea what to ask a vendor. They have no idea, what to do. And so it's designed for them to manage some key points so that they can keep their risk lower when it comes to working with a third-party vendor. So, I would say I would recommend those three. But again, if I can just get them to do one, I really believe that they'll see the value, and the next time they're going to take the next step and they're going to do another. So eventually the goal is that they're going to use all 6 modules and start to see and realize benefit over time.
But I think the serious thing is, but do something.
But do something, absolutely.
And that once a year training, which people are too busy, then I always say a lot of these training courses were made for 2 screens, so I could work on this one and click through that one. And that's what you don't want, isn't it?
That's
you want
exactly
to make
right.
sure that it's part of the, we said at the beginning, the kind of like the behavior within the organization. Jenny, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I got a feeling if we got on to the product development, we could go down some really nice, interesting
I think so too. Believe me, I could talk a very long time on that.
Well, I really appreciate it. So anybody's at the show's still going today. They can see you down on the show floor?
Absolutely. We are at 510.
510.
And we have some great couches. If you just need to even just relax a little bit, you're welcome to come down. During the truck party, maybe there'll be a lot of people napping.
And if anybody's listening to this later on, listening to the podcast or just driving in their car, how would they get hold of you?
Oh, so they can very easily contact me at Heyns@csrps.com. As I mentioned before, I'm never really on the front line. Scott Reese, who I think everybody knows, he's amazing. He is our VP of product development, and so he is somebody that could definitely somebody can reach out to. But I love receiving emails and questions, so I am going to answer very quickly.
Fantastic! I've given everybody now the secret way to get
That's
it,
exactly
get to
right.
you. Thank you so much. I really have enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
I hope the show goes really great for you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.